All right, finna go ahead and get it started. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. For today's episode 213, we're going to be discussing unflattering truths about dating. This is going to be episode 4 of my dating series. If you have not tapped into the first 3 episodes, feel free to tap into it. We talked about the feminine and masculine dynamic. We talked about this is why you suck with women. We talked about women explained, talking about female nature. Those are the first 3 episodes. I highly recommend going back and tapping in with those episodes if you're curious and want to know a little bit more of what I think. A few things I want to say before I go and get it started. Make sure you're going to follow me on Twitch, TikTok, Rumble, and on Spotify at Life of a Champ podcast on every single platform. As well as if you don't know who I am, my name is Champ, and I help men build their foundation of masculinity through trying to get them to understand certain knowledge. So if you need any help and want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me on any platform, and we could set something up if you would like. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Is there anything else I want to say before I go to get started? Yeah, make sure you leave a like on my YouTube shorts as well as my YouTube clips. If you can't catch a full podcast for whatever reason and still want to get the game that I've been talking about, feel free to reach out on there as well. Um, yeah, so unflattering truths about dating, right? This is going to be a topic that I've accumulated a lot of these harsh realities, these harsh truths, and I want to expose them to people because, quite frankly, I feel like there's a lot of people who have a lot of misconceptions around dating, whether they have experience or whether they don't have experience, or whether they navigate dating with this mindset or with this viewpoint. And I think it's best to have some of the knowledge that I'm going to be talking about today, because if you go in with the wrong mindset, if you go in with the wrong approach, and it's not going to lead you, it's not going to lead you to the best result. I would say it'll lead you down a resentful path, and I feel like the best that you can do is number one, understand your own nature, which, as I assume you're watching this, probably going to be a male. Understanding females' nature, because quite frankly, that's going to be what they are and what you're going to have to deal with. And don't necessarily get your expectations or have too high of expectations for the ways in which men and women work. And I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of yeah, I'll call them misconceptions that people have, and they kind of get their hopes up for it to be a certain way or go a certain way. And today, I hopefully will be dismissing some of those through the harsh realities, the harsh truths, right? So, number one, I'm going to start off a little hot, man. I'm going to start off a little hot. This is going to be one that I know there's going to be certain people that don't like what I have to say, but quite frankly, I want you to hear me out, because this is something that I've seen. This is something that I have seen with all types of women. And this is not only moving forward, all these things I'll be talking about, they're not necessarily all my experiences. It's going to be part of my experiences. It's going to be also my observations, and also talking on other people's experiences as well. So I don't want you to make it seem like this is the way in which I think and the only way in which I think. I think these ways, and I've seen enough in the world to understand that the world is the certain way. So, number one, let's get into it, man. Women like men who have the ability to give them a variety of emotions, right? This is something that I've seen time and time again that I don't feel like enough people really talk about, right? The men that have that certain type of draw that you might want, or that have the most draw within women when it comes to maintaining attraction and building it, and just essentially have their way with women, whether this is good or bad, right? They're going to have they're going to have this thing in common that I've observed, that they're going to be able to make a woman's day by just a small gesture. They can make a woman's day by, just kissing her on the forehead or just sending her one text, right? They have this ability to have this type of pull with women. And with that also being said, they also have this ability to be the like I said, for the bad or for the worse, or for the bad or for the good, right? They have this ability to be able to ruin her mood or ruin her day by a very, very simple action, right? And when you have this pull, it does come with a lot of power, and some men go ahead and abuse this. Quite frankly, I'm not one that intentionally tries to go ahead and abuse this, but this is one thing that I've seen when it comes to attraction. That when certain men have this, their interactions with women are so much better. The women love it, the women hate it, right? But at the same time, they love it, right? And one thing I want to say with this as well, if you're only good to women and or only bad to the women, if you're only if you're when I say you're only good to women, I'm saying being like one of those nice guy stereotypes that's a yes man to women, that is a simp for women. That's when I say good to women, right? I'm not saying don't be good to women. I'm not saying that, right? But if you're a man that's going to be simping for women, and you're going to be a man who is, treating women bad, both of them are wrong. I do believe both are wrong. You shouldn't be only treating women good or only treating women bad, okay? You need to find a mix of both. You need to find a mix of both. And those men who are able to give women a variety of emotions are able to do both. Not whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, they're able to do both. Those men have the biggest pull with women. I think it's an unflattering truth about dating that most people don't want to hear, because it might hurt to hear that, but that is the reality that I have seen, and that I do believe that is a truth. Um, Women have greater attractions for men who have this ability over men that can't do this, right? Or men are predictable for the better or for the worse. For example, let's just say there's a bad man. She has a proclivity to understand that this is going to come from this type of man, or a good, right? Only being good. They have the proclivity and the preconceived notion that this is what to expect from this man. But if you're a man that can give them both, intentionally or unintentionally, she never knows what she's going to get with you, and that also brings in that draw of attraction, right? That'll make the highs that much higher and the lows that much lower, for the better or for the worse. Like I said, this is a harsh reality, right? I'm not trying to get anybody upset, but at the end of the day, understand and observe yourself, right? Maybe my observations are wrong. I've studied dating more than the average person, quite frankly, and I've had my fair share of experiences. But what I will say is, the men who are able to do this at the best, or who are able to do this, they are doing the best with women, in my opinion. Women love them. Women hate them or love them, and quite frankly, the last thing you want to do is bore a woman, right? So whether she hates you or whether she loves you, at least she has a strong emotional reaction towards you, and that's all you could ask for, really, at the end of the day. Because here's the thing: if she's indifferent about you, if she's only feeling positive emotion or only feeling negative emotion, I do believe that it's not going as good as it could go, in my opinion, personally. So yeah, the last thing you want to do is bore them. If you're too good with women, you'll bore them. If you're too bad with women, you'll bore them, and that's what it is at the end of the day. So being able to find a balance where you can give them the variety of emotions is going to be the best. And like I said, time and time again, it's a whole different game. It's a whole different game. Another one, like I said, we're starting off hot today, man. We're starting off hot. All right. This is my observations, and not only my observations, but this is the observations of a lot of men that I've talked to. Most women who are overly socially programmed are broken. And what I mean by that is, let's just say she's keeping up with certain trends, right? Let's just say over the last like 20 years, if you know what I'm talking about, hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Over the last 20 years, there's been this movement of women. We'll call it part of the feminist movement, where women think it's a flex to be masculine. It's a flex to be independent. It's a flex to be super self-sufficient and say things like, "I don't need a man. All men are trash," and have all this type of programming that's not conducive to a relationship, and it's not conducive to attracting men. And they have this certain mindset or approach within life, and they're a little bit hard-headed, right? This is something that I've seen time and time again, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go out and experience women in this day and age. They're going to be a lot more combative, a lot more unflattering to deal with, a lot more um, socially programmed. That's the only way that I could really describe it. They believe too much of what people have to say, instead of trying to be exactly what they feel, right? I feel like a lot of women, they don't have this notion to go out and get it like men do. They've been programmed to have this, or circumstantially speaking, they've been put in this position, and now they have to act out that position. But I don't necessarily think that's the way that women want to work. Most women don't want to work in the first place. They want to be doing things like taking care of children, or baking cookies, or doing something, or helping their man out, or just trying to find a man in general, right? That's what they would much rather spend their time doing, at least through my own observations. And I don't necessarily think that it's going to be within their best interest. It's not going to be within their best interest to have these certain type of oh my. it's not going to be within their best interest to have these type of let's just say this type of programming, right? This type of programming is not going to be within their best interest. And that's why I say most women, that's why I call them broken. And a lot of men would consider them broken because they don't necessarily even want to deal with women that are like this in the first place. Because they're too combative. If you're a man, you're gonna want a woman who's going to be, let's just say nice. I'll say that nice in general, nice and pleasant, right? Those women who are overly socially programmed are not nice and they're not pleasant. And here's the thing: they're definitely not nice and they're definitely not pleasant long term. And if you're looking for anything of meaning, which should be long term, then quite frankly, you'll understand very, very shortly that they're not worth your time, attention, and energy. So that is what I found. I have dealt with plenty of women, and I've asked them. And I've asked this one woman. I've mentioned this, I think, on a previous dating series. I asked this one woman who was probably the most masculine woman that I've ever dealt with in my life, in terms of temperament, in terms of her own personality, in terms of her approach of trying to play this like maybe push pull type of game with a man, which men don't necessarily love. It can work, but they don't necessarily love it. But what I will say is, I asked her with her masculine temperament, what was her biggest struggle of dating? And she said that men cannot handle me. And that's because men don't want to handle you. And that's what it is at the end of the day. We don't want to handle you. We don't want you to be essentially challenging us. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's essentially challenging, right? No man wants a challenge when he comes home, right? That's the last thing that men want. Men want something calm, something, a good person of character who's essentially going to be caring and supportive. That's what men want. And here's the thing: you're not going to get that from those type of women. Most women in society nowadays, you're not going to get that from them. So therefore, they're broken, in my opinion, right? The next one, this is going to be another reality, harsh reality of life. This is one that's, like I said, there's going to be certain people that take this the wrong way, but quite frankly, I don't care, brother. The next harsh reality and the harsh truth about dating is you will never be her first. And what I mean by that is, first for her, definitely you're not gonna find women for the most part who are virgins, which is one of the most unfortunate things that is in society in the first place. And the reason I say that is because of this little thing called pair bonding. Pair bonding is one of the most important things to human nature, especially with women. What it is in its simplest form is essentially if you have sex with a person, you're chemically bonded to them. You've released certain, let's just say, chemicals within your brain that essentially attach to that person, right? And if it is like that, and is especially like that for women, and you're not her first, that means she has done that with someone else that isn't you, right? So that is a harsh reality that most people will have to deal with. This is why I would recommend most men to find women who have been very, 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 very selective with their sexual mate choice, as opposed to just being open and free and sleeping with as much men to find herself or whatever. I don't recommend that at all because, quite frankly, long term speaking, this is the frame that I like to use very, very often. Women that have slept around, they have a propensity to, not to be satisfied. A lot of those women who have a higher body count, they're going to be more attention seeking, and they're not necessarily going to be what I would call wife quality. There's going to be certain men that will tolerate that from a woman because they come across this woman as attractive in certain aspects, but quite frankly, to me personally, I can speak for myself and I can speak for a lot of men as well. That's not necessarily the most attractive thing. If you've known that you're the 15th guy that she's dated and 15th guy that she slept with, you're going to feel a little less special as opposed to a woman who slept with maybe one guy before you or maybe two or three guys before you. At least there's a chance to be able to build a chemical bond with this woman where she actually gives a shit enough to be willing to go through the inevitable problems that will come up, right? If you're the 15th guy that she slept with, the odds of her saying, you know what, this 15th guy, he's a really good guy. He's really, really special. I'm gonna stick it out with him. It's less likely. There's studies that will back this up. So I don't want you to think that I'm just speaking out of my ass when it comes to this. There's studies that will back this up that will say that women who have, I think it's like over 8 or like 10 sexual partners, their ability to keep a long-term relationship goes down drastically every single extra person on top of that. So something you need to keep into account. And with that being said, when I say you'll never be her first, understand that most women, and I would say probably 99% of women come with some type of emotional baggage that you will have to deal with, that you will, if you don't feel, you will feel, right? And what I mean by that is this, right? If she's got done dirty by men and you want to go ahead and deal with her, that is going to be a pain that I would not want to wish on my worst enemy, because quite frankly, it's something that affects the way that you interact with that woman, and affects your success and your long-term ability to mate with this person as well. When you've known that, when you know whether it's a conscious knowing or unconscious knowing, that she's built a bond that she will never forget for the rest of her life with another person that isn't you, yet she's still telling you I love you. That is a very harsh reality. That is a harsh truth that most men have to deal with. Just know she said I love you to someone else. She's built a bond that, quite frankly, she'll never be able to build with anyone else, and she's still telling you I love you. That's a hard thing. That's a hard thing for men to deal with. That's a hard thing for women to deal with. Yet it is a harsh reality that exists. It's a harsh truth that exists within dating. But it is what it is at the end of the day, right? This is why I don't recommend anyone, really anyone, to sleep around. I definitely don't recommend women to sleep around, for sure. For that reason, specifically speaking. Another harsh reality or harsh truth about dating is men have to put in so much more work to be on the same level of attractiveness as a woman who does nothing besides looking a certain way, right? This is going to be a thing that everybody really, really knows, right? Um, as a man, you're going to have to build up skills. You're going to develop yourself. You're going to have to take time out of your day to make sure that you're dedicating it to your own personal self, working on certain things like fitness, working on certain things like, building up a skill, or maybe it's becoming a little bit more educated on certain things to become interesting, or maybe, learn how to be a little bit more charismatic or a little bit more funny, right? Or to even build up your confidence. So maybe you have to build a variety of the things that I've mentioned in order to build a certain confidence. But quite frankly, we all know that all a woman has to do to be considered attractive is to look a certain way. If she looks a certain way, even if she's dumb as rocks, a lot of men will still take them. Quite frankly, I won't. I personally won't. But a lot of men, they will just, it is what it is. They'll just be like, hey, she looks good. That's good enough for me. That's good enough. That's what a lot of men say. That's a lot. Here's the thing. It's not, if that's not how they say, if that's not what they say, that's how they act at the end of the day. So if you're a man, the harsh reality that you must accept is you need to work on yourself in order to be on the same level as in attractiveness as women, as a lot of women, even the most basic women who really have no ideas floating through their head at all. You need you need to build yourself up. Jaden just mentioned a good quote. Masculinity is built, femininity is preserved. That's exactly the way it is, for damn sure. I'm gonna read some of these comments. Unflattering truths for some. Relationships require compromise and sacrifice. 100%. The reason why that's an unflattering reality about dating and relationships is because most people are not willing to compromise, and most people are not willing to sacrifice for many different reasons, right? We all know that compromise is women is I'm not gonna say women is men and women's worst enemy nowadays, next to accountability. That's damn near one of the worst enemies ever. There's a lot of women, especially the masculine women I was talking about earlier, right? They don't want to compromise for shit, right? And that's just what it is. Through my own observations, I've tried to compromise with some women that are a little bit more masculine in temperament. They don't want to compromise. They don't. And as a man, really, you should compromise less. I'm gonna say that. There's certain things that you're gonna have to bite the bullet on at the end of the day. But quite frankly, when it comes to looking for the mother of your children, there should be things that you're definitely not willing to compromise on when it comes to your standards. Sacrifice being another one, right? Most people don't want to sacrifice, and that's why you have the lowest rates of relationships going on right now, lowest rates of marriage, lowest rates of children, all of that. The reason that is all going to come down from the lack of accountability, the lack of the ability to compromise, and the lack of sacrifice, and the ability to take sacrifices for sure. I'm gonna read some more comments. All right, women sleeping around because to them not only want to be able to bond anyone. Wouldn't be surprised if that's why most don't want kids nowadays. I would say that's definitely going to be a part of it for sure. Kay just said he's ready for the challenge. Appreciate him stopping by. All right, man. Here's the thing, man. One thing I want to mention as well. I just heard this recently. He said, I'm going to get a girlfriend before May 7th, 2025, no matter what it takes. What it comes down to it is this. This is going to be another harsh truth about dating, right? There's never going to be a perfect time. You're going to have to look for the person, right? You're going to have to build yourself up in the meantime, but it's how fast you can find the person that is right for you. The person that meets the person that meets the qualities that you're looking for in a woman. That is when you can find, and that is when you'll be ready, is when you're able to find a person like that. Hopefully, they're attracted to you just as much as you're attracted to them. Because if not, quite frankly, you got to hold the L, and that's what it is at the end of the day. But I would never put a time on that. But yes, it's going. Relationships and finding a relationship is going to take as long as it needs to take at the end of the day, right? Yeah. Another harsh reality and a harsh truth that I don't have written down that I want to mention is there's a lot of people moving around within dating that don't necessarily have their intent clarified. So therefore, there's a lot of women going around and dealing with a bunch of men who are just trying to sleep around. That's it. Who are just trying to sleep around, yet the women actually have this perception that they potentially could get into a relationship with this man, when in reality this man is just trying to hit it and quit it at the end of the day, right? Which I wouldn't necessarily recommend unless you really need experience. Um, Even then, I would cautiously recommend that. But that's something that I feel like a lot of people need to be very, very clear with when it comes to dating and everything like that. Coming very, very clear and open with your intent, and your lack of intentionality and lack of seeking intent within the other person's actions is going to lead you down a path that you might not even want to go, right? So let's just say you're just trying to sleep around, yet this person's trying to build a relationship, and you guys are bonding and doing whatever you're doing. One person has the expectation of the relationship to go this certain way, and the other one has a completely different perception of the way it could go. And at the end of the day, people are going to get hurt. People are going to be more wounded. They're going to have more walls up. It's going to be harder for them to even deal with the next person that is going to be on their journey, and therefore leading to more baggage, like I had mentioned, for men and women to go ahead and have to deal with, for the next person to go ahead and unpack, even though it's not something that they truly want to unpack, nor is it something that they truly should unpack in the first place. But at the end of the day, that's what it is, man. Getting to the next one. This is going to be another one of those things that I think is going to be a little bit more controversial, right? Another harsh truth about dating is that women are the prize. That's what it is at the end of the day. Whether you hate to hear that or not, women are the prize, and men are the ones who win the prize. At the end of the day, women don't want a winner. At the end of the day, women don't want to win. They want a winner. Right? Whether anyone and there's no way to slice it other than that. Women don't want to win. They want a winner. There's no one that can convince me. There's no one that can convince me. Even the even one of the people that is running for the president of the United States, you think she really wants to be the president, bro? She's not even the president of her own house. Come on, brother. That's what it is at the end of the day. Women want a winner. Men want to win. Men win the prize. Women are the prize that men win. A lot of men would like to claim, "Oh, I'm the prize," or women would like to claim, "Oh, I'm the prize," and they're really not shit. So they're really neither of them are the prize at the end of the day, right? The women, when I say women are the prize, only certain women are the prize. Most women are not the prize. I'll keep it 1,000 with you. Most women aren't the prize. Most women aren't worth the sacrifice. Most women aren't worth the loyalty. Most women aren't worth the commitment. Most women aren't worth the win. That's what it is at the end of the day. Now, there's going to be a few women that are worth all of that, and yeah, it's going to be very, very far and few between. But at the end of the day, that is what hopefully you'll be looking for, and that is hopefully what you'll be not settling. That'll be hopefully something that you're not settling for anything less than that at the end of the day. So yes, at the end of the day, women are the prize. Men are the ones who win the prize. Women don't want to win, they want winners. Simple as that. Another harsh truth about dating, this is going to go back to something that I mentioned a little bit earlier. You got two types of men. You got men that are honest, hopefully. And then you got men who are deceptive to try to get their desired result. Now, for women, it's going to be hard for you to differentiate the two of these But quite frankly, hopefully over enough time, with enough vetting, you'll be able to understand the difference between both. But quite frankly, there are some men that are honest and are deceptive at the same time. And that could be something that is very, very difficult to tackle. But at the end of the day, that is dating in general. Dating is deception for some people, right? I would say for a lot of people, it's deception. Like I had mentioned earlier, right? With not coming clear with your intent, with your that could be in a sense being very much deceptive, right? For you to not say to the other person, "I'm just trying to sleep with you," or saying, "I want a relationship with you," when you know that person just probably wants to sleep with you, is being deceptive. Communication, communication, and setting the foundation up is going to be something that I talk about on a future episode of the dating and attraction series. But for now, that is what I have to say for that. So yes, there's going to be certain men that are deceptive. There's going to be certain men that are going to be honest. For women, it's going to be very, very hard to distinguish both of these individually. And at the end of the day, as a man, I would recommend highly to be honest, to be truthful. No matter how you want to move within this life, whether you want to sleep around and do whatever, or whether you actually want to go ahead and build something with the woman, I would recommend thoroughly to be at least be very, very honest with the women and be upfront with your intent. Because if not, you're going to have to deal with more heartbreak on the woman's end, and that's going to ruin somebody's future wife maybe. So like I said, you need to take it that serious. And that's something that I understood thoroughly within dating is, if I'm acting toxic, I'm breaking somebody's wife down crazy. So that is the harsh truth, is if you're not being a good person, if you're not being a good man, if you're not being a good woman, you are you're adding more baggage that another person's going to have to deal with in the future. Therefore, you're probably adding more baggage that you're going to have to deal with when it comes to your wife. Because if somebody's acting like that, if you're acting like that, just know somebody else is acting like that. And you better hope they're not acting like that to your future wife. Because if they are, man, you're cooked. You're cooked. You're going to have to deal with that. That's a tough thing to deal with, man. All right. I have a few more, man. Actually, I have a good amount. So if there's any harsh truths about dating that you want to mention, feel free to leave it in the comments. I have a live comments on YouTube, so if you want to go ahead and tap in with that, feel free to tap in with that. Live every Thursday for sure. So getting into the next one, this is going to be another one that a lot of people are going to be. It's funny. It's funny. I think it's kind of funny. Most women have little to no skills. Why? Because they don't feel like they need them, right? If you're a woman that looks good, you don't really need that much skill to get a man. So therefore, your your tendency to want to go ahead and develop certain skills goes down. And a lot of those women are prone to distraction, I would say. And that is what I see within the most attractive women. They're easily distracted. They're way more easily distracted. They live this, and they can get away with living more of like this freer type of lifestyle, and it can work out for them. But at the end of the day, they also bring almost little to no substance to an actual relationship, to a person who's looking for an actual relationship. But yes, women can get away with having little to no skill in this life, and I would say most women that I've ever met, most women that I've ever talked to, outside of their work, have little to no interests and have little to no skills. And if you think about it, right, they don't really need to be interesting. They don't really need to be exciting or really have much of a personality. They don't really need to be funny or smart or have good style or have a lot of experiences to be attractive. So therefore, that's going to be the ways in which they can settle for being, because quite frankly, they don't really need skills. They don't really need to develop a lot of their parts of their character or of their personality, because quite frankly, they can get away, and a lot of women do. The most attractive women do. They get away with just doing good enough, which is taking a shower and getting ready for the day, and that's good enough for a lot of women. So therefore, they have the rest of their time to fulfill doing whatever they want to do, probably just staying on their phone for like 16 hours a day. But at the end of the day, that's the hard truth about reality, right? Women don't really need skills, and obviously, in the inverse of that, if you're a man, you need skills, right? Men need many, many different skills to be attractive. So at the end of the day, if you're going up to an attractive woman and you're trying to approach her, just know that she's probably put in less work than you have. You probably have more skills than she does. So therefore, why the hell are you even anxious to go ahead and approach her? I don't understand that. I don't understand men that are still anxious to approach women. If you developed yourself enough, and she's probably, she probably hasn't put as much work in as you have, what the hell are you even being scared for not approaching this woman, man? Come on now. Yes, so men need to be funny. Men need to be interesting. Men need to be somewhat exciting. They need to develop their personality, right? They need to develop their character. They need to be smart. They need to have good style. They need to take care of their hygiene and all that, right? In order to be attractive. They need to have more experiences than the woman in order to be attractive. And that's what it is at the end of the day. That is the harsh reality is women can come in with nothing and have nothing, and men, they need to have almost damn near everything in order to be attractive when it comes to skills and when it comes to personality for sure. Yeah, a lot of men, they put women on pedestals, right? They put women on a pedestal, and for them to not have literally any skills at all, for them to be pretty much boring. A lot of women are boring, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of women are boring. There's gonna be some that are interesting, and I'll get into that. I'll get into that eventually a little later, right? The women that are the most interesting, they're interesting for a reason. I'll say that, but it's because they have more experience, and if they have more experience, then they have more experience. That's what it is at the end of the day. But I'll get into that a little bit later, man. But I want to get into the next one. This is gonna be another one of those that's it's a little interesting for sure, right? This is something that I've spent a pretty decent amount of time thinking, and this is gonna refer a little bit to the podcast that I had made for the last podcast, which was talking about women explain female nature. This is going to be women can't date anybody perceivably worse than them. If they see a man that is lacking in certain aspects that they're not lacking, and let's just say it's maybe more than one, the odds of them being able to stay attracted to that person is going to go down drastically. So, for example, let's just say she meets a man, somehow he gets her number, whatever, right? They meet some way, right? If she understands thoroughly that she's more confident than this man, she's going to be less attracted. If she sees that she is smarter than this man, she's going to be less attracted. If she sees that she has more experience than he does, she's going to be not attracted, right? That's why women don't like virgins and things like that. They don't really care for them. Uh, Actually, if you ask women, would you rather a man have slept with 10 women or slept with none? Most women would say at least 10, so at least they're experienced and know what they're doing, right? Men obviously would answer the complete opposite. They would say absolutely no experience at all, zero, right? And that's what it is at the end of the day. Most men would agree with me. A lot of men probably wouldn't admit it, but that's on them. Yeah. So for example, I can give you an example of a woman perceiving a man as worse than them, whether they would want to admit it or not. Right. Let's just say the example of you being a stay-at-home dad. Right. A lot of men will say, "Oh, I would take care of a man." They don't actually mean that shit at all. Most women want to be taken care of if they're being honest with themselves, right? But most women would say it's okay for a man to be a stay-at-home dad as long as he's doing blah 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 blah, basically being a woman at the end of the day. But a lot of women, whether they would like to admit it or not, would not be as attracted to that man because he's not going out there and getting it. He's not away. He's not building something. He's simply just staying at home, right? There's going to be some women, and of course, don't be this person that's going to say, "Oh, well, I know a person in my family and he stays at home and she actually works." And like, I don't want to hear that shit. We're talking about the 99% of the world that exists. And that's just what it is, right? Most women cannot, I'd say probably 99% of women cannot date any man that is a stay-at-home dad, or which in that scenario is perceivably worse than them at the end of the day. So, and with that being said, obviously, men have no problem with dating somebody worse than them. And that's what it is at the end of the day. That is something that I see, and I'm like, come on. I think that's another thing that truly makes men and women different in the way that they approach life in general, right? If there's a woman, there's no way she's even going to deal with the man unless he's literally almost better than her in everything, in every single aspect, confident, more funny, more smart, bigger, taller, stronger, all of that, right? But a man doesn't. A man is okay with dating a woman and loving a woman and marrying a woman who's perceivably worse than him in literally everything, except maybe what women are good at, like caring, loyalty, all that, right? But besides that, men could literally be better than women at literally everything else. Like I said, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to being funny, when it comes to being smart, when it comes to being big and strong, or yeah, yeah. When it comes to all that, right? They're completely men are completely content with dating somebody who's perceivably worse than them in those skills, or let's just say, yeah, those abilities, we'll say. And they're okay with it. They're completely okay with it. Most men would love a woman who's not as funny, not as strong, not as smart than them, right? Obviously, those are just basic examples. Not doesn't have as much confidence as them. They're okay with that. They don't really mind it. And I think that that's something to be said. Obviously, it's pretty self evident, right? Where you can understand that there's a clear difference right there. But I think it's interesting, of course. Along with this, another harsh truth about dating is men need a philosophy in order to figure out women. And quite frankly, if we're being honest, most women have no idea of how to keep a man or how to treat a man properly. That's my experience. I feel like a lot of women will say, "Oh, this is how you do it." Their actions lack, in my opinion, quite frankly. Most women, I'd say. And one way that I see this is I've seen enough street interviews of women, of men interviewing women, and they ask them a question like this, like, "Are you wifey material?" And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm wifey material." And then you're like, "Okay, what makes you wifey material?" They'll ask them that question. "Oh, I have a good career, and you know, I have a good career, and I'm independent. And I can handle everything myself, and whatever." They start naming a bunch of things that men are attracted to, and or that women are attracted to in men, and they think that's going to make them more attractive to men. When in reality, men don't really care about those certain things. If we're being honest, that's another harsh truth. If you're a woman, men don't care about your education for the most part. They don't care about your career for the most part. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. Maybe some men might have an interest in those things, but quite frankly, if my woman does nothing, right, and knows, I'm not going to say nothing, is not formally educated, I'm not going to necessarily care. And I would say most men would probably agree with me if they're being honest with themselves. But men need a philosophy in order to attract women. They need a philosophy of how to figure out how women work, and women don't they can get away just fine with not knowing how to treat a man, not knowing how to keep a man, and that's what it is at the end of the day, right? There's another thing that I want to mention as well. When men are growing up, they're taught how to treat a woman. You should treat a woman this way. You need to open the door for her. You need to open the car door. You need to lay down your jacket. If there's a puddle, lay down your jacket and let her step over it or something like that, right? Obviously, all these ways, get her flowers, do all this, right? Women, what is one piece of advice that you would say women are programmed, right? When they're on the upbringing, women are told by society or by their whatever, parents or whatever, this is how you treat a man. If I'm being honest with you, the only culture that I've seen have this, I guess I can speak for myself. The only culture I've seen instill some of these things that men actually want is the Hispanic culture. That's it. They have the foundations in order to keep a man and how to treat a man. That they actually teach that. But besides that, do you guys? What is one? If you can name it, whether you're rewatching this or watching this live, name something that women are taught. This is how you treat a man. You treat a man by doing this. And I would say for the most part, it's lacking. Whether you can come up with one thing or two things, at the end of the day, it's lacking. The amount of the amount of programming that men have when it comes to this is how you treat a woman. You must protect her. You must, if she's standing on this side of the road, you need to stand on this side, or standing on this side of the sidewalk, she needs to stand on this side, right? You need to open the door for her. You need to. Men know how to conduct themselves. Men know how to treat women. Men know they need a philosophy. They need to have some type of structure in order to deal with women. When I say deal with, I'm not saying it in the bad sense, right? But essentially deal with women, right? Women can get away, and they've gotten away for forever, damn near, without needing to, come a little bit more. Um, what am I trying to say? They can get away with lacking the knowledge of what it takes to keep a man. If you want to know what it takes to keep a man, it's very very simple. At the end of the day, a lot of women can name this, but can you act it out? Probably not. Nah, champ. Most Latinas modern days are crazy. The things that they're taught most likely went in and out their ears. A lot of them they can be masculine. If I'm being honest with you, That's I don't think that's pretty. I don't think that's controversial at all. There's a lot of Latinas that are masculine, right? That's. I don't think that's. I don't think maybe that's on my own perception, but that's what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I would say a lot Hispanic women they know how to treat it. They know how to treat a man. I'd say that. All right, getting into the next one. And like I said, if there's any specific ones that you think are worth mentioning, feel free to let me know. Another harsh truth about dating is 95% of the time it's the man's fault. Regardless of what the situation is, at the end of the day, men need to take accountability for all the actions of their life, all the results of what happens, right? And usually, for the most part, if you break it down enough, it all goes back to a way a man should have been, or a way a man should be, or the way in which the man acted that had caused this problem to occur. So what this is going to come down to, at least at the very most basic, part of taking accountability, it could come down to your poor choice of a woman, right? If a woman's treating you a certain way, you could say, "Oh, it's the woman. It's her fault. It's her fault for acting that way or being this certain way," right? But at the end of the day, it's the man's fault for choosing a woman who's treating him like that. That's what it is at the end of the day, right? So it's usually going to be man's fault, or it's going to come down to a man, which I talked about in the episode, what is it, 211, which is episode 2 of the Dating and Attraction series, when I talked about the masculine frame, right? If you suck with women, this is why, pretty much, right? Most men that deal with problems with women, they lack a good program. And what I mean by a good program is they don't necessarily have the foundations that are set in order to have a good and successful relationship with women. And this is going to lead to a host of problems that most men wouldn't even know that it would come from this specific thing. But at the end of the day, if you have a good program and if you need to know what that looks like I said, I'm going to refer you to episode 211. If you want to know what that looks like and need to get better at that, maybe women are mistreating you, or let's just say um, they're not necessarily acting the ways in which you would want, right? This doesn't even need to be mistreatment, but just let's just say acting any ways that are less than desirable. Just know it's probably going to be your fault, whether it comes down to the two things that I mentioned: the choice of woman or the lacking in your program at the end of the day. So if you have any more questions, feel free to go through that episode for sure. Another unflattering truth about women and about reality of dating is going to be, this is one of the most fundamental things to attraction, right? This is going to be spending too much time with women, even though they might want to, and even though that you might want to, it will lead to an eventual loss of attraction, whether it's on one person's end or on both of your guys' ends. And this is one thing that I would say is very, very hard for you to conceptualize and for you to implement. At least it was for me. I can speak for myself. And it's something that most men probably deal with, right? If you're not the greatest with women, this is probably going to be an element that does exist. Maybe you're spending too much time with her. Let's just say she wants to hang out every single day, or she wants to hang out 5 or 6 times a week, right? And you hang out with her because this is what she said, and maybe some of the time it's you, maybe some of the time it's her, but you guys end up hanging out 5 times a week. You guys are eventually, what? Here's the thing: if you're starting off, maybe that'll be fine. I still wouldn't recommend it. I still wouldn't recommend it because at the end of the day, you want to keep this draw of attraction where you want to always be in a state where you want to spend more time with them, right? If you spent a sufficient amount of time, let's just say 5 times a week, you spent and you feel like you spent a sufficient amount of time with them, there's no time to build attraction through missing the other person, right? And if you're the masculine and obviously you have a feminine, you need to have that dynamic of missing, of wanting more time with them. If one or both of you guys are satisfied with the amount of time spent with each other, just know the attraction is going to go down, right? All the things that make a relationship good, or all the things that make an interaction good between a man and a woman, is going to come down to attraction. And if you're not doing things that are going to be conducive to building up that attraction, whether it's conscious or unconscious, if you're a man doing your thing, you should spend little time with women. When I say that, maybe like 3 days of the week max, right? And that should be good enough to hopefully get to the point where she's missing you and hopefully you're missing her, right? And I'm gonna give you something that I had learned. This is gonna be an economic law, but I think this applies to this applies to relationships. This applies to dating. It's called the law of diminishing marginal utility, right? This is an economic principle that essentially is this, right? Let's just say you were to consume something. You're a consumer, right? You consume a product or you consume something, right? The more you consume of it over time, if you like, for example, let's just say I like ice cream, right? I want to go buy ice cream every single day because it is my favorite thing in the entire world, right? And I want to do an ice cream challenge. I want to have it every single day since this is my favorite thing. For the next 30 days, I need to have ice cream, right? So, the first day, first 3 days, it's probably great. Fantastic. I love it. You know what? This is my favorite thing. I'm getting it every single day. 7 days. Maybe it's still good. Maybe you're not as satisfied with it as at one point because you're getting it and you already know you're expecting to get it, right? 3 weeks in, you might even be sick of the ice cream because quite frankly, you've ate too much damn ice cream, right? You no longer get that same feeling that you had got when you were on your first 3 days of eating that ice cream. Even though it's the same ice cream, it still tastes great to you, but you're dissatisfied and you're not as satisfied as you once were with that ice cream. And that goes hand in hand with the spending time with women, right? The more you spend time with women, if we're being honest, the less satisfied you're going to be within that expression of time. And in order to get the best out of that interaction, you're going to need to know when to spend time with women and when not to, right? You're going to need to know when you need to put in work and when you don't need to put in work, when you can just relax and enjoy your time with the woman, right? But if you're just spending all of your time with the woman, right? If you see her 7 days a week, just know she's not going to be getting the energy that she deserves, and you're not going to be getting the energy that you deserve out of that interaction. You're not going to be getting the best attraction that you possibly can get. And that's what it is at the end of the day. I feel like it's a very, very hard concept for people to really internalize, but at the end of the day, if you want to have the best interaction, which if you're listening to this, whether you're in the beginning of a relationship, whether you're sleeping around with this woman or whatever it is, you need to drag on that attraction stage as long as you can. That's how you build attraction long term in the first place, right? Let's just say you just started talking to a woman, this would be something great to implement and something to be very, very mindful of. She might want to see you 5 days a week, but you know damn well that that's going to result into something that's not good for both of you guys. You're gonna get sick of her. She's gonna get sick of you. One of you or both of you guys are gonna get sick of each other, and you guys are going to have that obligation to still need to go ahead and talk, even though both of you guys are a little less satisfied than what you should be, and you guys are a little less attracted to each other as you could be. Right? That's not desirable for any person at all. And one thing I want to mention as well, if you're just starting to talk to a person, implement this and you're going to be able to drag that honeymoon stage of when you guys are all puppy love and all that. You're going to be able to drag that on way longer than you would if you were to spend every fucking day with this person, right? Keep that in mind because that right there is a game changer. That is a relationship changer. That is a regular interaction changer when it comes to women. You must be very, very conscious of this. And if you are, you're going to get a lot more out of the interaction. You're going to be a lot more attracted. You're going to have a lot more of that connection with that woman. Women need to miss you. You need to miss women, and that is how the best interaction between men and women. Um, that is how it's properly conducted, in my opinion. I got a few more here. If there's any specific unflattering realities or unflattering truths about dating, feel free to leave in the comments. But hopefully you get what I'm saying. Hopefully you like some of the things that I'm saying. If there's a specific thing that I've said so far, feel free to leave it in the comments and say this is my favorite thing. All right, give me a second. The thing is, you are on point, but as men, we need to focus on your purpose because that's what we live for. We live to self improve and to help others. That's why she's into you in the first place, 100%. It's because she saw something in you that she saw in. I can't read the rest of that. I can't read. See. No, it doesn't work. Whatever. All right. I know what you mean, KJ. You're right. You're right. At the end of the day, you're definitely making sense for sure. All right, let's see. What's your opinion on how people can create an anomaly with their relationship? I'll explain. Okay. That's a good question. I'm the perfect person to ask that question. If you're watching this or if you're rewatching this or watching this on Spotify, tap in on YouTube and you'll be able to see us comment in the live comments. That's a good question. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little later. You know what? I'm gonna make a dedicated part of the series to that specific question. That's a good question. I'm gonna move on though. I'm gonna get through these unflattering realities. Like I said, if you have any in the comments or if you have any in mind, feel free to leave it in the comments. Whether you're rewatching this or watching this live. The next one, another one of these things that a lot of people don't want to hear. Most women don't want to hear, but at the end of the day, I gotta say it anyways. I gotta tell you the truth, man. One of the most unflattering truths about dating that exists that all men believe, but most aren't willing to admit, is the simple fact that one woman will never be able to satisfy you sexually. That's what it is at the end of the day. Whether you believe it or not, whether your man will tell you, oh, you satisfy me sexually, I don't need any other woman, I don't want any other woman, that's bullshit. I don't believe it at all. If you said, and here's the way you could do it, if you said, okay, just know that you could sleep, I will let you sleep around with as many women as you would like. I'll keep the same energy. You won't have to worry about anything else. That man, for the most part, will take that every single day of the week, 3 times on Sunday. If you give him that ability, that just goes to show you one woman, and there's nothing against women. You can have a great woman and still not be fully sexually satisfied as you could be as a man. That is how men work. That is something that you must. If you're a woman watching this, that's something that you must understand thoroughly. That's something that you must consider when it comes to evaluating male nature in general, right? One woman will never sexually satisfy a man. Men love options. Men love novelty. One woman is not options. One woman is not novelty. And that's what it is at the end of the day. Now, should you get a man and hopefully he's only for you? Yes. But just know, if we're being real, and if he's being real with himself, he's probably not going to be sexually satisfied, but that's a sacrifice that hopefully the man that you choose is willing to make. That's what it is at the end of the day. But that's one that, like I said, a lot of people would say, oh, come on, brother. Come on. Stop playing, bro. Stop playing, bro. If the option was there, most men would take that option. We're keeping it a bean. If he could detach that part from the interaction, and the interaction that he has with the woman, whether it's a relationship or whatever, it would maintain and be perfect. The same it would be if he was completely loyal. Most men, 98% of men that would do that, more than likely they would do that option if there was no penalty. If there was no penalty on it, they would do it for sure. Obviously, most of the time there's going to be a penalty, so therefore they won't do it. But that's what it is. That's what I know. I know that for sure. Any man that has a decent level of testosterone will fucking say yes. That's what it is at the end of the day. All right. Next one. The next harsh truth about dating. This is going to be another one that is going to be something that most women don't want to hear. But here's the thing, man. I like to tell the truth. I'm a man who tells the truth, man. One of the harshest truths about dating is men can be attracted to a woman that is less than his woman. And whether it's sexually attracted, yeah, probably just sex. I'm not gonna say probably. Men are attracted to women who can be less sexually appealing than their own woman that they have. But they're still going to be sexually attracted to them at the end of the day, right? But it's interesting because if you think about it, a woman who has a man, let's just say a woman has a man. Okay, let me go back. Let's just say you're a man, right? And your woman is like an 8.5, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, she's an 8.5, right? But you see, like, let's just say a 7 or like a 6.5 walk by, but she looks pretty good, right? Man's nature is still considering sleeping with that woman. That's what it is. That's male's nature in the most honest and most truthful version. They would be willing to sleep with that woman if there was no social repercussions and all backlash and whatever, right? Even if he had a woman that was better than her. A man would be more than okay with sleeping with that woman who's a 6.5. That's what it is. But now if you think about it, right? Let's just say you're a woman. You have a man that's 8.5, right? And you see another man that's a 6.5, right? Women wouldn't even think about sleeping or dating or even acknowledge that guy's existence if he was a 6.5 and she had a man who was an 8. That's what it was. That's what it is at the end of the day, right? They wouldn't even think twice about it. And that right there just goes to show you how different men and women are within their own. When they're being truthful about their own nature, that is how different than men and women are. And that's what it is at the end of the day, man. That's something that still blows my mind. That's how men and women function. But that is a harsh truth. If you have a man right now, if you look good, if you're a 9, just know that there's a 7, 7.5 out there that your man would sleep with in a heartbeat, not even thinking about it twice if there was no social repercussion of that. But if you're a woman, if you're a man and your woman thinks that you're a 9, just know that she has no interest at all of even touching, even thinking about, even looking at another man that's less than that. It's what it is at the end of the day. Of course, they'll look above that. For sure, they'll look above that. But below that, definitely not. Definitely not for damn sure. So that's what it is. This next one, these next harsh realities about dating. They're gonna be a little bit different, and I do wanna mention these. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna read some of the comments before. Just because that's an unflattering truth does not mean you settle for a man who cheats. Sure. Uh, Goes back to the compromise and sacrifice. If you're a woman who has value, who has loyalty as a value, I'll say that. Women don't value, another harsh reality, women don't value loyalty like men value loyalty. That's another harsh truth. I'll say that while I'm reading her text or reading her comment. If a woman has value, find a man who sees that and who values you more than his desire to sleep around. I agree with that 100%. Yes. Women should definitely find a man who sees her value more than sleeping, more than he values being with the woman more than he values his desire to sleep around. I agree with that 100%. Men need to be clear on what they want in a woman: pretty, kind, caring, respectful, etc. And same for women. I agree 100%. That is of course the truth. Obviously, most people don't know what the hell's going on. They don't know what they like. They don't know what they don't like, and they figure it out. They have to go through the trenches to figure it out, but they figure it out eventually. That's what it is. All right, getting into the next one. All right. One of the harshest truths about dating that I have recently thought about is is about commitment. Commitment in this day and age is one of the most bravest and difficult decisions to make. For many different reasons, it is a brave and it is indeed one of the most difficult decisions you can make. And for many different reasons or many different causes of this. So for one, for example, right, the reason that it is hard to commit nowadays is because there are little to no women that are even worth committing to, right? Finding a woman who's worthy of committing to, who has good value, who has good character, who isn't sleeping around with a bunch of men, who doesn't lower her value just to get by, is going to be very, very hard to find. So that obviously makes commitment very, very hard and difficult, and makes men even brave for even choosing to go ahead and to commit, because quite frankly, most women are not even worthy of committing to. That's going to be one thing as well. But another thing that I thought about when it comes to commitment, and more importantly with loyalty, right, is I observed thoroughly that loyalty and commitment means something truly different than it did mean, let's just say, years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? A man committing to a woman nowadays, it is the same act, but it really is not the same act, right? So if you're a person watching this and you're like, let's just say you're, I'm gonna say 35 plus. If you're 35 plus watching this, I'm gonna break something down that's gonna completely blow your mind, probably, right? When I say loyalty and commitment mean truly something way more and way different than what it did. Let's just say like 15 years ago. I'm gonna say 15 years ago. You guys have no idea. You have no idea the level of distraction that men have nowadays, that women have nowadays via social media. The amount of distraction is unreal. It takes 2 seconds. This has never happened in society ever, dude. It takes 2 seconds to go on your phone and find a woman who looks good. It takes 2 seconds to go for a woman to go on her phone and to look to and find a man who looks good, right, on her phone, right? Obviously that person exists, but obviously it's on the phone, right? So that is distraction. That is one of the elements that makes loyalty and commitment mean something truly different than what it did years ago, right? With this, with obviously it's distraction, it's obvious temptation, right? I can't go on my phone for more than 10 minutes, for more than I'm going to say 2 or 3 minutes, without seeing something that I truly don't want to see, whether it's women or whether it's whatever it is, right? And I'm sure most men would agree with me, right? Even if I'm not even intentionally looking for this, it's not hard to find, and it's gonna stumble upon me anyways. It's everywhere. And the reason why it's everywhere is because well, first, men are addicted to this, right? Whether it's porn or whether it's whatever, right? Men are addicted to this, so therefore people can make money off of it, so therefore they're going to show that even more. And that's what it is, right? So there's more distraction, there's more temptation, and the people that control everything, they know that it's going to lead to much more misguidance than ever before. So that's why I say loyalty and commitment 15 years ago is completely different than loyalty and commitment now. For a man and a woman to say, I want to be loyal and I want to be committed to this person means so much more, in my opinion, today than it has ever meant ever, right? And the many different reasons with temptation, with distraction. Was there temptation? Was there distraction? Was there misguidance 15 years ago? Yes. But there was probably 100 times less temptation, distraction, and misguidance than there is today. For damn sure. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying with that. To be loyal today was something that was very practical and very much easy compared to today. Um, Now, in my opinion, I think it is much harder and it is much more respectable than ever, thus making it even more rare. So, quite frankly, it is rare. It is that makes it even more hard and more of a difficult decision to go ahead and make, and makes you even more brave for doing it because obviously the temptations exist, right? For you to say, I'm gonna put away the most temptation in human history and I want to commit down to one woman is literally saying everything, right? For a woman to do this as well. If you're an 8 or a 9 out of 10 on a scale from 1 to a 10 as a woman, you could find a man in another state instantly. A guy who has everything that you could have ever imagined instantly. So for a woman to say, you know what, I want to stay committed to this man. This man's a good man. I want to stay committed to him. Is a hell of an act. Is a hell of an act, and it means much more than it ever has. And that's something that I really, really want to emphasize for sure. It is not easy by any means, and it is not for the weak. I'm going to say that for sure. If you're a person that is tempted, if you're a person that is easily prone to distraction, just know that you committing, even if it's to a good person, quite frankly, it is going to be harder to do than it is for you to, for you to fall into your temptation, for you to get distracted, for you to be misguided. I'm just going to say that for sure. So it's not for the weak. I have a few more, and then I'll go ahead and end it off. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys have any more comments regarding anything that I've mentioned on today's episode, whether it's maybe you want to add something yourself, feel free to leave it in the comments. One of the last ones, one of the last truths that I have when it comes to dating and attraction, right? One of the harshest truths is most men just want sex, and most women just want attention. Women want attention. Men want sex. Obviously, this is something we've all known for the longest time, but at the end of the day, I think it still needs to be mentioned because, quite frankly, it's interesting. It's interesting, bro. Like when you base your life philosophy off of this, you can kind of see through people's actions. You can see through people's fake intentions, and it'll help you navigate through the bullshit a little bit more, right? If you're a woman, just know most men want sex and just want sex. And that's all they want from you. That's all they see you as. And with that being said, move as that. Move as that as having that understanding. Maybe be a little bit more selective in who you give your time to, give your body to, right? If you're a man and you understand that women pretty much just want attention, just know that you giving it out and selectively giving it out is going to be within your best interest for damn sure. And understand thoroughly that there's a lot of women who are going to abuse your attention or try to abuse your attention. So therefore, you must give it sparingly for sure. Last harsh truths about dating. Confidence is everything, even if you're ugly. What it is at the end of the day, if you have a large amount of confidence, which confidence can come from many different things, but if you're confident as a man, even if you don't look good, quite frankly, you can still be able to get women, and it's usually the men that are very self-conscious and not confident that don't get women. It's not whether they look good or whether they don't look good. If you're a man and you look good, but you're not confident, just know you're going to be eating less women than a man who doesn't look good but who's hella confident. That's what it is at the end of the day. Um, this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive to my last point, but the next harsh truth about dating is going to be a good body or good looking body goes a long way, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. You can get away if you're a man and you have a good looking body. you're gonna get a lot more looks. If you're a woman, you have a good looking body, obviously you're going to get a lot more looks. And if you're a man and you don't have a good body, or you're a woman and you don't have a good looking body, right? Just know that if you build that up, you'll be getting more attention. You'll be getting more. Life will be easier. I'm gonna say that whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. If you build up your body, life's gonna get easier for sure. When it comes to dating, especially in overall life in general, life will get easy. So a good body and good looks go a long way for damn sure, right? The last harsh truth about dating, and this is one that I want to speak from my experience, but I also want to speak from let's just say highly successful men that I've heard them talk about this topic before. They mention this, and I think it's very, very interesting, right? They say boring girls are the best, the most, the most practical, the most, easily predictive. Girls that are boring are the best type of girls for damn sure, right? Another thing with that, right? So let's just say you meet a woman, she's super, super cool, right? She's super cool. Just I've known this from my own experience. I've heard a lot of men talk about this, right? The coolest women that get along with them the best, just know that they've also got along with a lot of men just as good, if not better, than they have with you. So therefore, the coolest women, when it comes to evaluating whether a woman is worthy of keeping or not, just know she's probably going to have slept with a lot more people if she's really, really cool at the end of the day. She's got along very, very well. Yeah, that's gonna come with some baggage. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And also, one of the last ones is the most beautiful girls to a lot of people are the most annoying, right? And a lot of people say that they're also not that very smart. So that's what it is, because something that I mentioned earlier, right? They don't feel the need to really build their skills. So therefore they can get away with just looking good. They can have anything and everything that they need in life just by looking a certain way, so they don't feel the need or obligation to build anything up besides their looks, and therefore they still get whatever they want. So that's what I want to end with. And hopefully you guys enjoyed what some of the things that I've mentioned. Whether you want to hear it or whether you don't want to hear it, I do believe these are all things that are harsh truths and harsh realities about dating in today's culture. That's all I have to say for today's episode. This was episode 213 of the Life of Champ podcast, talking about the unflattering truths about dating. This was episode 4 of the Dating and Attraction series. If you've enjoyed this series, feel free to leave it in the comments and to let me know how much you've been enjoying it. And other than that, I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all working these motherfuckers, because you know that I am. You know that all my boys are, and that's what it is at the end of the day. That's all I have to say for today's episode. Tap in with the next podcast. It's going to be on Thursday. I'll be doing a live stream on Monday or Tuesday. If there's any specific creators or videos that I'm going to go and react to, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will go ahead and react to them. Other than that, you guys have a good rest of your nights. Thank you for your time and attention, and tap in with the next podcast on Thursday.